It was meant to be the most joyous of celebrations when Robert Stewart's beloved son Liam prepared to plight his troth with the lovely Penelope Cavendish amidst the hallowed, vine-draped abbeys of the Wiltshire countryside. A union spanning two of Britain's most aristocratic dynastic houses that dated back to the Norman conquerors, solemnified in accordance with rites and rituals paying homage to over a millennium's unbroken ancestral lineages. Every detail from the ceremonial floral arrangements to the attending choir's celestial polyphonies had been meticulously choreographed to resonate with ancestral rhapsodies of noblesse oblige and bloodline purities hallowed into the land's deepest karmic wellsprings over countless generations. Alas, such pristine daydreams of trans-temporal Anglo-Saxon glory seamlessly intersecting with the modern age proved all too brief against the toxic backdrop of 2020's cultural decadence. Much like the lowering atmospheric blight signaling imminent upheaval across the verdant Wiltshire fields, subtler augurs of discord had also been massing invisibly on the socio-political peripheries. Unseen by the blissful newlywed couple and their entourage until it was nearly too late. But as the hallowed ceremony reached its climactic zeniths, uninvited forces representing the United Kingdom's most unforgivable repudiations of sovereign ancestral eminence were already defiling the sacrosanct thresholds with violative footprints. In typical deplorable fashion, the Duchess of Sussex made her destabilizing presence known through the most malignantly theatrical attention-baiting she could muster. Violating any pretenses of discretion, Meghan Markle somehow waltzed right past rows of veteran Buckingham Palace security praetorians like an untouchable poltergeist. Only when she'd reached the primary cathedral's vestibule and began disrobing from a preposterous avant-garde muumuu ensemble did the disruptive intent become unavoidable. You really didn't think I'd allow two direct imperial legacy bloodlines to resanctify their baleful regnal atavisms without at least honoring these nuptial rites with an intervention, did you? Meghan cackled towards the now audibly gasping onlookers, averting their scandalized gazes while she twitched and convulsed in preparatory ritual choreography. For the universe herself cries out for overdue rectification against such sclerotic fossilizations of dynastic tribalism still vomitously perpetuating their self-importance. And I alone must serve as conduit for the impending ancestral reparations, by physically dispelling these sanguinary delusions of aristocratic perpetuity. Having finally disrobed down to a grotesquely defiant bodysuit comprised of American Aboriginal totemic garments plastered with provocative anti-monarchist manifestos, Meghan began braying like a stuck feral boar. She snarled ferocious obscenities across the ancient oaken rafters and bellowing for emphasis with floor-thumping stomps. Making clear this constituted merely the opening ritual pantomimes ahead of some direly foreshadowed, transformational karmic reattunement, one specifically calibrated to demolish the celebratory congregants' most treasured assumptions of immaculate noble continuity. You really think your quaint pageantries of simulated perpetuity and fealty to some aristocratic casus belli still possess any binding metaphysical authority in this late hour? When the living flames of your hereditary supremacy have been revealed as little more than spiritually extracted fuel for generational subjugations and identitarian pillaging? Well, once this rite reaches its full apogee, you'll be disabused of such sanguinary nostalgias for good. By the time the first horror-struck wedding attendants managed shaking off their blinkered stupors to summon security reinforcements, Meghan was already scaling the towering pulpits directly behind the altar space where the couple's I do's had yet to properly commence. From there she commenced hurling loud invocations across the sanctum in her bizarre Frankensteinian Creole of New Algeria and post-colonial epiphenomenon speak, each recitation sounding like unhinged nonsense babble yet also conveying outright profanations against every hereditary tenet the Stewart-Cavendish bridal endogamy represented. I call upon the severance of all mythic continuities reinforcing this alchemical conflation of feudal fetishisms. Meghan shrieked while gouging strange hieroglyphs into the marble altar with a ceremonial obsidian knife. Let the blood insignias of every interlocking corporate familial empire be forever sundered from their spectral monoliths of inherited vice spirit. Sever the sanguinary Ouroboros cycles keeping these reeking European snake monsters trapped in predatory onanisms of self-consuming psychogenealogical oppression. At this juncture the first phalanx of Buckingham security personnel arrived flanking both sides of the cathedral's central aisle barking through amplified interdiction protocols. The stoic-faced crimson-clad guardians represented Great Britain's Praetorian ideal when it came to defending sovereign soil from threats both without and within, each iron-jawed face remaining steely despite being confronted with such overt blasphemy towards their most hallowed traditions. Their arrival proved a galvanizing catalyst, finally snapping Lord Robert Stewart's usually unflappable aristocratic poise into vengeful paroxysms. "How dare this wretched grifter violate the sanctum of my ancestral homelands with her attention-addled tantrums," the Duke roared with eyes popping and jowls distended into a livid crimson mask more akin to his ancient crusader forebears before battle. "Mark me well, you insolent, self-deluded wraith. By brazenly defiling these ceremonial rites celebrating the quintessential fruits of our stately bloodlines, you've invited a reckoning from our entire imperial continuum and the formidable mysteries we alone remain empowered to steward." With each thunderous intonation, Stewart seemed to swell several magnitudes while effortlessly channeling his dynastic house's darkest adavars, furious ancestral shades spanning from Saracen slaughtering warriors to high-born torturers renowned for extracting secrets through elaborate torments. All those ineffable bardos of sadistic aristocratic power dating back to pre-conquest epochs now coalesced within the Duke's mounting apoplexy, rapidly propelling him beyond any constraints of decorous self-regulation. Foaming through gnashed incisors likely descended from generations of landed gentry with proclivities for cruelty, the enraged paterfamilias unleashed an occultic torrent of fury drawn from the deepest celestiosophic wellsprings. Rumbling forth in stentorian tongue-twisters of cryptoglossia, Stewart bellowed irresistible hexes and paralytic binding spells towards the shrieking Meghan, who immediately collapsed like a broken-stringed marionette. Her limbs splayed in grotesque profanations of every sacred geometric attunement, binding her consciousness to ley line grids once alchemically embedded across these Albion holy sites millennia before her cancerous indigenous victim ideology had even taken osmotic root in the Western mind. "Did you truly think your pathetic cribbed shamanism could prove comeuppance against the sovereign mysticism my lineage remains sanctified to wield as cosmic gatekeepers?" Lord Robert growled as cathedral stones groaned and lurched around Meghan's splayed form, nearly burying her amidst shifting tectonic detritus from her struggles. "I am the immortal scion of William the Bastard's most elite theurgy regiment and shall not allow some Canaanite crypto-witch to befoul my son's impeccable reclamation of Indo-European purities on the hallowed grounds of the Spring Queen's domain." Try as Meghan might to garble frantic ceremonial counter-curses while contorting on the verge of being crushed, every desperate syllable emerged stillborn. As if resonating against barriers of anti-entropic force, Stewart's sheer nepathic mastery effortlessly reasserted for eons prior with each contemptuous glare. All that issued from the Duchess's lips were gurgling choked sputters symbolically castrated of semiotic coherence. Each increasingly feeble gesture of ritual sovereignty robbed of potency and sent ricocheting back upon her spasming form.